So my name's Emma and this is my exhibition. I wanted to exhibit outside of the gallery space and in the storage cupboard, which is a bit odd.
Why have you chosen a storage cupboard?
So I've been selling my artwork for like a good 14 years, something like that, and one of the things that I've found is that when I'm selling paintings for customers, you end up getting really caught up in the commercialization of it all. So like creating paintings that would be more likely to sell rather than something that I actually want to create. So that's something that I really sort of struggled with, is like I'm chucking out all these stock paintings and I'm really struggling to sell them, and they're just sat in boxes, they're sat in storage. And sort of related to that, one of the things I've really got an issue with is how all these big collectors, they spend like millions and millions of pounds or whatever on these really famous pieces, and all they do is put them in boxes in warehouses, and all these amazing paintings, they're not enjoyed, they're not fulfilling their purpose, if you will. They're just in storage. So that's something that is really like sort of something I'm really passionate about, is the idea of artwork being more accessible, so not locked up in gallery spaces and you're not allowed to touch and stuff like this, and being in storage. So that's why I wanted to exhibit outside of the actual gallery space, where you've got all these sort of expressive abstract paintings where like part of my sort of journey, if you will, is partnering with the materials, instead of me being like the perfectionist, the artist having control over what I create. The material has some agency in what it wants to be, so like the folds in the fabric or the drips of the paint, instead of fighting against them, I'm like partnering with them, if that makes sense. So all these pieces almost create like their own personalities. So the feeling of putting them in storage almost feels like you're imprisoning them, which is kind of how I feel about my stock paintings. So that's kind of why I wanted to exhibit in the corridor and in the storage cupboard. And beyond the actual paintings, I've got sort of an interactive piece where people come and read the health and safety, because they're very sharp scissors, and sign this paper. Partly to acknowledge that they've read this, but also partly because then I've got a record of the people who, when they enter this room, they take the scissors and they cut a section of the painting off and take it with them.
Can I cut some?
Of course. Of course you can.
Let us in.
So just make sure this, you're careful with the scissors because they're extremely sharp. Ooh, this light's going crazy.
Anywhere?
Anywhere you like. These are all the paintings that I've had in storage for years.
So these are actually painted on the other side?
Yeah.
Are they not for seeing?
Well, you can look at them if you like, but...
I'll pot look one. Why is this one in cling film?
Because I've got ready to sell it and just never did.
Fire.
That's why I wanted to put them all in storage, like facing the wall, and sort of barred, because it, like these sort of red pieces of thread are sort of reminiscent of how gallery spaces have those barriers where like do not touch.
Okay. Where do I go?
No, it's difficult to choose.
I want to get in that iris, I think. But I want some of this nice texture.
That's something I've found when people have been visiting and cutting sections. Everyone's like really thoughtful about where they want to take their piece from.
Any particular size? Or?
Any, just a smallish piece, about the size of your phone, I'd say.
This phone? You know, it's massive. Sign that.
Sign it. Okay, no problem. Here we are. That is your little piece. And so the significance of this is that even though, like, during the process of cutting this giant painting, in one sense you're destroying it, but in another sense you're rescuing it, because I'm not going to sell that, like, and it also kind of brings into the question, what's the value of art, which is an age-old question that I think this conversation will never end. But, like, is my artwork only valuable when someone actually wants to buy it? So is it monetary, or is it only valuable when it's exhibited? So, like, but what happens after I've made?
What about when it's stolen?
Oh, stolen. Oh no. So the question I've been asking is, when the lights go off and the doors close, like after I've finished a painting, what then? Like, if it's going to be exhibited, and then what happens after the exhibition? So that's why I wanted people to cut this and almost rescue it from the storage room, because it's gone from like one giant piece, you know, by Emma Hindle, you know, one painting by Emma Hindle, and it's now being transformed into a community collaborative piece, because now the work exists outside of the exhibition space and outside the exhibition time, and just exists in the world, and it's a part of the community, and it's a part of like all these people. So that's why, as well as health and safety, I wanted people to sign this.
So these are people that have taken some?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted people to sign this so that...
So it's more than one piece of art, really, if you add all them people up.
So this is like the record. This becomes a work in itself now, because instead of me, you know how like artists tend to sign their paintings?
Yes.
Instead of it just being my painting that I've signed, it's now everybody's painting, and all these people
and
are
they own
artists. Yeah, they have their own bit, and they can do whatever they want with it. Like, they could chuck it away, but I've had a few people get back in touch with me and say, I want to stick it to my collage that I'm making, or like, I've put it up in my bedroom, or I've glued it to this print that I've got in my living room, and that makes me so happy. More so than selling that entire thing for thousands or whatever it is. You know, the fact that these people are getting involved and saving this piece from storage. And yeah, so that's sort of like the significance of this, and having all these smaller pieces. It's almost like they're beckoning you in to rescue their friend, and then leading you back out again. So that's basically like the...
How low can you go?
And people have to duck underneath them and get knocked in the face with them. which I like. I like people touching my work and like it being in your face and being something that you interact with, rather than something that's stuck behind a barrier.
Sterile.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to touch it, you know.
I was thinking as well, like, artwork's sometimes like replicated, and that takes away from the value. This is almost like being able to be split up into different parts, like it's being replicated, but actually none of the components are actually unique. They're all unique in their own right.
Yeah. And a part of that as well is only one person at a time is allowed in, and that also means that every time one person enters, because the person before them has cut a unique section off, the piece is completely new for that one person, who's now going to cut another section for the next person, and then it'll be completely unique again. So just the very fact that it's a transformative process, and some, like, what's wrong with people coming and interacting with a piece and it being not destroyed but changed, and having the audience be involved.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be art unless there was an audience anyway, would it?
There you go.
But then once there's been too much of an audience, there isn't any artwork.
Wouldn't you say that actually it's not?
So it's become a performance then, yeah?
Kind of.
Sorry
yeah.
to...
No, it's like, don't you think it's actually a bigger artwork? It's more spread out because it's in so many pieces, and now it's like scattered throughout the local area.
Guess so, yeah.
And taken with people, and now there's people's got a sentimental attachment to it now.
I'll let you set up. I'm not going to.
So yeah,
I'll
that's basically it.
Mix something.
For this
and then we're good to go.
Cool. Look after your piece.
Sorry, did I interrupt your video?
It's fine, don't worry. Styled it off.
Sorry.
Don't
It's
say.
okay. We basically just wanted to sort of, if we don't do a little video recording of the explanation of it now, we're going to regret it in the future, I think.
Fair enough.
So, your turn.
I'll keep it as one big video so that